Hey, everybody, welcome into the Lettermen Lounge. We are at Roosters. It's a Monday. It's a fun, casual joint, and we are talking about the Buckeyes here in Columbus, Ohio. 52-13 over Rutgers.
You guys, I'm not picking scores anymore. It's just not working out.
Why not?
I was way off.
I think there was, I guess I wasn't here, but a lot of people were probably off on this game.
Who was dead on when they predicted it? Berm,
No one. You said 52-27.
What did I say right after that?
You said I wanted to pick 100-0. So I don't.
He gave you credit before you got here. He did say that you went down to 13.
I'm not going to do that on this show.
Oh.
Okay? I'm willing to have these conversations in private.
Let's go back and parse what I said last week. That's our bold predictions video. I wasn't going to, but Jay-Z just and Nicole is apologizing for her score prediction. I don't know. I just think I'm doing pretty well.
Hey,
maybe this is
sounded like you hit it right on the head.
This is your year.
This is my year. Nicole taught me how to do it. She gave me her powers. Anyway, that's Justin Zwick, Nicole Cox, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham, and I am Austin Ward. Look, you can't spend all last week saying, ooh, Rutgers is much better. They only lost by a touchdown in the big house. Like, this is going to be a tough test. All right, well, if that is true,
I know.
Then you can't leave Saturday night and say it's only Rutgers.
Nope.
I didn't say that.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just putting it out there.
He's talking to you out there.
It sounds like you maybe said something like that. You're a little defensive over there.
Listen, I've been championing for the last 48 hours that was a good victory. Like, this Rutgers team, don't confuse them with, like, Penn State or Iowa, but they're a good team. Like, they're a team, like, I would say they'll probably win 7 games this year. And so when there's a line that says 2 touchdowns and you just absolutely obliterate it, and it's
first 4 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
That was a game like what it looked like the last couple of years where, okay, I sat down in my chair 3 minutes late. Where did all these points come from? How did we score so fast? And it's like, well, are we going to try to score like 100? Is that the goal? I mean, it's 45-0 at halftime, 45-6 at halftime, and it felt like literally they could have probably scored 80 points in that game if they wanted. And that was a 2-touchdown line to where Ohio State was not favored. This wasn't one of the ones of Rutgers where, hey, it's 38 points or 41 points, or it was Akron. This is a team that has won Power 5 games, that has been pretty good this year, that stymied Michigan in the second half. Now, you could say, well, was Michigan just trying to get out of there? Whatever, maybe. But they still had an element of toughness to being able to stop the run, which it was like, hey, pick your running back.
Right.
No one had 100 yards, but everyone had over 50. It's like, hey, you get some runs. Just rip them off. And that's was sitting Travion Henderson in the second half. Why? Well,
3 quarters. He only played the first quarter.
Right. I was like, well, he was good at halftime. I felt like we just didn't – you should have said it was 45-6. That's why I didn't play him the rest of the game.
The same was true for Cody Simon as well.
Yes. Who also, by the way, linebackers, defense, Tyler Williams getting a lot of penetration. You know what? Let's get him on the field some more. We'll continue to grow his reps. It cleans it up for the linebackers. They look better because of that. Cody, Tommy, Taraja, like, amazing how much more aggressive they look when, like, they're seeing a clear picture and they can go fill up gaps, and they finally got some playing experience. And I'm not sitting here saying, like, this is a fully finished product, but I am going to sit here and say that, like, it was highly encouraging. This is what you wanted to see really against Minnesota, and then maybe more of a struggle against Oregon, but, like, grow from there. It took a couple weeks before they were actually fully growers, and now hopefully by the time you get to Penn State, they'll be real full-on showers, Austin.
I also think, too, I think your confidence is always boosted when you just have a really great play just to, like, kick the game off. And it's just like, all right, we've got this, you know, and then you get another one. And I think they just felt great about themselves, which then eased the pressure a little bit.
Just easing the pressure like Chubbs.
Easing on to somebody else.
That's what Greg Schiano was thinking.
What a pass there.
You like that?
And Nicole, beyond that, too, I think we said the week before, only Akron. You play a full game like that and get the confidence. That's meaningful, especially for these younger guys who are doing it for the first time. So one good play, one good week, that all builds.
Absolutely. And I feel like they looked, in my mind, a lot better than they even did last week. I felt like there was a lot more, like you were saying, a lot more confidence because of last week.
Right.
And you could tell with CJ Stroud how he was more patient because he was, just taking what the defense gave him and just made it work, and he was confident in his plays. It was nice to see. You could kind of see them all not worrying about, are you going to do your job? Everybody just focused on themselves and like, okay, I've got to do my job. And that's it.
They were it was like trick or treat. I mean, they were very generous with opportunities there. I mean, that's key.
Yeah. It was a pleasant surprise for me. That was a game I was more worried. I was thinking 35-21, something a little closer just because, going into this game, Rutgers was a team, and Michigan was putting up 47 points a game before they went in and played them, right? Mm-hmm. That's a lot of points. I don't care who you're playing, whatever. You're averaging 47 a game. You get held to 20 in your own stadium. I thought that defense was going to be something legit. They were giving up 260 yards, blah, blah, blah. They looked like they were going to give us a better game. And I think just the way the game started off, like Bobby talked about, first 3 minutes, you got 14, 21 points. I think maybe that shell-shocked them a little bit, and they just weren't able to recover. And Ohio State, on the other hand, played a great game. This is a team that hadn't had any turnovers. The quarterback had taken care of the ball. Yep. We go out and get 3, 1 to the house, get a defensive score on the road early in a game. That's huge. And, it was what we thought Ohio State was going to be. Even though we started off with a Big Ten road game, you still thought that team was going to show up. And it took a few weeks, but it was fun to watch, and I hope they're here to stay.
Yeah, you weren't alone in that, Jay-Z. We were getting ready to leave the hotel, and Berm's like, man, what if they lose?
What if they lose?
Well, you just don't know because, as I said here last week, I said, it's about C.J. Stroud coming out and playing confident, and if he's ready to go, then there can be no excuses. If he's healthy, he has to come out and play like an Ohio State quarterback, and he did. The defense every week is going to continue to get better the more comfortable these guys get in the reps, and I don't think it's even a knock on Rutgers' defense. They held Michigan 20 points. Ohio State's offense, if C.J. Stroud is really right, is going to be the best offense in college football. That's not. They're averaging 565 yards a game. They should be scoring 50 points a week with the guys they have, and that isn't a knock on Rutgers or anyone else. The Buckeyes' defense just needs to do enough to let the offense win and not give up huge, gash plays over and over and over.
I don't think they're going to do that. I
think they have the potential to be a good defense, and we talked about it on the radio this morning. These kids have to play. They're the youngest Power 5 team in college football. You have to get reps. And as you see Ronnie Hickman step up, and not just not being a better player, but also a leader. I was rewatching the game on Sunday night, and there was a play in the second quarter where Rutgers shifted into something. And last year and earlier part of this year, the Buckeyes wouldn't shift when the offenses would shift.
That always concerns me. And I see a lot of movement. I'm like, to just build in. We were
there. Guess they're good.
Yeah. We guessed right.
I have never been part of a defense where there was a move, like a shift, a move, a motion, where there was zero communication.
Right. And they weren't doing that early in the year. But on Saturday, the first time Rutgers did that, Ronnie Hickman moved over, called over to Bryson Shaw and told him where to go. And just that sort of experience, you can't replace experience. These guys are getting it, and every week the defense should get better, provided it stays healthy. And that's what happens when you have a super young team. It's not an excuse to say they're young. It's an explanation for maybe why some confusion is prevalent.
I get tired of us having to say that they're not excuses. There was just so much negativity around this team for the first month, and obviously, shows like this were part of it when they lose to Oregon, where they don't look good against Tulsa. But you have to have some patience with young players. You have to have some patience when you're making changes schematically, and the fact that Ohio State has been able to get through them as quickly as they have should tell you how talented they are. And I hate that comparative scores aren't really meaningful of anything. College football is so different from week to week.
Oh gosh, this week proved it.
And that's so that's the case for Oregon, of course. But even the week, if you're looking at Rutgers and Michigan, that game didn't really have anything to do with Ohio State and Rutgers, except for the fact that the talent gap remains for Ohio State against everybody else in the league extremely vast. They are the most talented team. There's no question about that. And so if they've found the confidence or found an identity, that's got to be scary for everybody else they're going to play.
Absolutely. Did Trayvon, did he get touched on that opening touchdown?
No, he didn't.
I don't think people realize
Jeremy Ruckert, Jeremy Ruckert, Paris Johnson, DeJuan Jones, they deserve a lot of credit for that as well.
Absolutely. That's my point is he's a really good running back, but he didn't even get touched. And he really didn't make any. It wasn't like he had some great move where he shook somebody.
He went to the edge and just kept running. Oh, wow.
Put his foot in the ground and got vertical. It's like, this guy's really good, and he has great players in front of him. And when they block like that, that's what it can ultimately look like. And I do think that sometimes there has to be a little bit of a reckoning sometimes with teams where, and not that they were overconfident, but they got beat down a little bit to where, hey, you've got to get back into this and you got to start grinding. Like, you're just not going to get ushered into the college.
Yeah, they were
football
almost
playoff.
showing up expecting, hey, we're going to be in the Big Ten championship game, national championship, blah, blah, blah.
Expecting to win is fine.
Yeah.
But like that comes, the confidence in that should come from the work that you put in during the week, not the results of the last like 2 or 3 years.
I think a lot of even the veterans on the defense, and I'm
Mostly the veterans,
I'm just going
I'd
to keep
say.
saying it's the defense that was the biggest issue, and I know C.J. Stroud's growing pains or whatever, or, people want to talk about it, but I think a lot of the veterans on the defense believed that they were entitled to a piece of the cake that they didn't help make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the last couple of years of defense, Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison, these guys, they didn't have any real part in creating what's happened. So now you don't just get to walk in and get some of it. You need to earn your spot, and you need to be contributing some of the ingredients.
But they're also building a new cake.
Yep.
Like if we're gonna
whole new cake.
Completely.
if we're gonna torture this metaphor, let's go all the way with it. Like they have to be part of building the new cake.
Who pops out of the cake?
Now
Barnes.
it's Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes popping
There you
out.
go.
Surprise!
Yeah. Surprise! I'm your defensive
Here
coordinator.
I am. I'm your midseason defensive coordinator. The
Well,
cake is made now.
Yeah.
And like watching some of the calls, like I think Matt Barnes is doing a good job. I don't think the calls have really been the difference, though. I really think it's just been the players.
Eyes have been the difference. The ability to see what's happening is the difference.
And I was going to ask you about that, Bob, because I talked to Zach Bourne about that for Buck IQ. I'm like, what? How different is this defense really? I mean, maybe if there's more blitzes, maybe there's more shifting and showing things pre-snap, but schematically, I'm sure they're like dramatically different.
No, it's some of the same stuff. There's a little bit more movement, and you know what? Maybe they would have gotten to that point, like regardless of if a change was made, just because hey, we've done this for a while. Mm-hmm. This has always worked. People wanted to do this. We tried it. It didn't work. Now we're going to have to deviate course. And so Matt was probably part of like, okay, well, I'm part of this course correction. But I believe like all those coaches were beginning to look like we just can't do what we've done. We have different players now. And not that they're better or worse. It's just that they're different. And we have to utilize what they do well.
Okay, we have some fried pickles.
Appetizer Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You have an important update about appetizer.
We do. Okay, so, like shortages everywhere. There,
Jay-Z said there are ships lost at sea.
There are so many. Everybody needs to start
They're
Christmas
not lost.
shopping.
They're there.
if
They're
you
just not
want
allowed
your
to dock.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
You have to start Christmas shopping now or holiday shopping now if you want your gifts in time for the holidays.
What if I'm ordering like 5,000 Roosters wings?
Now, I would.
How can I,
we
will
would be
those
so
keep if I
appreciative.
order them?
When do the invites for the party go out? Because
Yeah.
I will be there.
So fried
Don't let these
pickles,
guys rattle.
I mean, they do. I totally just. But fried pickles, that's supposed to be the appetizer. Every day, it's like a surprise. Let's look at the positive. It's a surprise that if for some reason certain stores don't get their order, then they're going to come up with a new
Something else.
appetizer.
It's gonna be a
and
$2
surprise.
appetizer Tuesday, and you're just
They're
gonna
gonna
get
still
surprised.
make it a $2 appetizer,
And it's all
but
good, so it doesn't
They
matter.
just don't know until that day.
I
So.
think
They pick their pickles fresh daily too.
Right
That
Slice
is
them
not
up.
true.
Darting out
right
back.
off the pickle tray.
That is
Right off-
not true.
right out
I
back by
appreciate
the
you trying to
coals.
say that, but that is, that's
Well,
okay though.
I
They're
mean-
great.
I don't want to put pressure on Nicole, but I think every appetizer should be available to anybody who wants it tomorrow for $2.
Austin.
Austin.
That's so sweet.
I'm sorry. I'm out of. I'm out of
It's
my-
okay.
I don't
The-
make those.
Staring
All
holes
of our
through you right now.
all of our
How
kitchen
dare you.
team is
So,
like, who is
cut the
this
mic.
guy?
Spencer, cut that out of here. We can't have that.
Cut his mic.
Yeah.
Normally it's Jay-Z begging for the chips, but now
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
No.
want to cause Roosters to
But
lose any
we
money.
will
So take that back. I take that
100%.
back.
No, we will still have a $2 appetizer. It may not be what we planned, but you'll still get something.
Could be
so.
Burns mac and cheese bites.
So we appreciate everybody bearing with us through the surprises we received.
I like it.
fried pickles or TBA. One thing we will have for sure is Roosters Buckeye leaves to give out. Bobby won't even fight it this week. Nicole, we're going to start with you.
Okay. So CJ Stroud. Guys, I'm going to give a few. I just am in that
Yes.
mood.
Go.
All
Okay.
right.
Schlag it up.
CJ Stroud, I just was impressed with the fact that, he sat out versus Akron and he was able to take a step back and kind of see, okay, I've got, you could either feel defeated in a moment like that because you weren't a part of the highest scoring game they've had this year, but Or you could just be like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm going back out there, and I'm going to do great. And you could see it. You could see his confidence, and he didn't have that timid, like, okay, well, they told me to stand here. So, they were all just adjusting to what they saw, which comes with age. I mean, let's remember, these are kids. We all need to remember, how were we at that age, So, exactly. So, I'm very impressed with him, so I think I'm going to give him one. And then I'm also, because I just love this story, Mitch Rossi getting his first reception, and then it became a touchdown. Like, the first thing I thought were like, I can't even imagine his parents right now. Like, they probably got up to go get something to drink, came back and were like, what just happened? But, he was a walk-on, and now he's on scholarship, but I just thought that was a really neat story, so I wanted to give it to him.
Mitch Rossi, a feel-good story there for the Buckeyes, and he's playing a lot. We talked about him in spring, that there actually is a fullback that can be used on this team. Now, they're not going to go to a fullback very often, but when they do, he can handle it.
It's a nice thing to have, man, to change it up. Going under center, getting a fullback in there, some teams might not know what to do.
Jay-Z felt at home when he saw that formation.
Oh, fullback? Like Stan White was in the backfield. Yes. I'll go. You stole my thunder.
Right, I know. I'm sorry about that.
But
you were going to talk about CJ later.
You were going to pick fair enough. All right. Well, then in that case, I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball to give my Buckeye leaf. And this is a kid who I've wanted to give it to previously, because he's just been a tackling machine in a defense that maybe hasn't been so great, but he's started to turn the corner. Ronnie Hickman, just a guy who just getting his nose into everything. I mean, sometimes you wish he didn't have to get his nose into it.
The Rick James.
Yes, but he's out there making plays, and give a little love to the defense. They look like they might be turning that corner, and hopefully they can continue to build on these last two games.
I said Jay-Z on Saturday night, if in August, if you'd made a list of 10, maybe even more players who could be defensive MVPs for Ohio State, Ronnie Hickman would not have been on that list. Like, we didn't even know if he was going to start when you're talking about the bullet with Craig Young and with Court Williams coming on at safety, Josh Proctor being out there. You never would have thought. If somebody out there was, then they definitely deserve to be cashing that check in Vegas and playing the lottery. But Ronnie Hickman has been phenomenal.
The Rick James Player of the Week, putting his nose into everything. Justin Zwick, right there.
I like it.
Hey, Ronnie Hickman, he's a good-looking dude, man. Like, physically, he's an impressive athlete. I didn't realize how big he was. He's tall, athletic, looks really good. I'm going to go with the linebackers, kind of spread it around with those guys. Cody was playing really well. He gets nicked up. It's obviously best to probably rest him. You're going to need him down the stretch. Taraj, I thought, came in. He played really well. And then the guy who's been as maligned as anybody, that people have just been beating up, in Tommy Eichenberg. Like, look at this. He played all these plays. He didn't get any tackles. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. I'm like, well, let me explain to you what – these aren't excuses. They're explanations of what is happening in front of him. And so for a guy who I watched, 2 series, and I just really watched him, I'm like, all right – patience, aggressive, go get in there. Patience, aggressive, made a couple tackles. And then to cap it off, to get an interception is always something that's pretty fantastic, to be in the right place. So you go from, for a couple weeks, people are like, you're trash, where's your production at? To then kind of step up and be a big part of a game plan where Rutgers wanted to try to run the football. That was their plan. And I thought all the linebackers stepped up, and particularly Tommy. And so I'm pretty proud of those guys.
You know what Tommy should have done 2 weeks ago? Instead of getting that huge hit over the middle and breaking up the pass, getting a huge PBU, he should just let him catch it and then get a tackle. And
that's better. Stat accumulator.
Thinking man's linebacker.
What kind of crazy Buckeye leaf are we going to get over here today?
Ooh, I got a couple. One, brotherhood isn't just in the roster. For what Kerry Combs and Al Washington have been put under in the last couple weeks, just the response that they've had as grown-ups, as adults, handling their kind of the licks they've taken and handling it well, I think is very important for Ohio State. But to me, it's Matt Barnes. I mean, I mentioned it on our rapid reaction on Saturday night. After the 75-yard touchdown run and catch by Rutgers, Matt Barnes immediately grabbed all 11 guys around the field and said, that was on me. That was my fault. I made a bad call. That's not on you guys. And I just think that kind of accountability, that dude-on-dude accountability that you're always talking about.
Love that.
I think was just really important for that defense, because those guys are all in still probably a fairly fragile mind space at this point, where one thing goes wrong.
It's a pretty early.
Right. I mean, it was 17-7 at that point, and you go, okay, well, what happens now? And so, I'm sorry, 24-7, but you don't know. I mean, you're on the road, 24-6, because immediately Haskell Garrett goes out and blocks the extra point.
That's awesome.
So, that sort of bounce back, and that's just that kind of accountability from the coach on the field to say, that's on me, not on you guys, to make sure that nobody starts to get in their own head, I think was really important. So to me, it's just the defensive coaches altogether. I think that they've handled a lot of negativity as professionals, and I think that's important.
And by him saying that to the guys, that also shows the guys, okay, next play. Focus on the next play. Don't focus on, was that my fault? Was that his fault? It's, he took the blame and they could just move on, which I think is so important. And so they can just start fresh.
Absolutely.
Nicole, you've got to stop encouraging him to do these just deep.
I love it. Oh,
emotional.
guys, this is me.
But
I love this.
But I also want to give it to Paris Johnson and Thayer Munford for being selfless enough to let Matt Jones rotate.
Dwan came out, and Thayer went to left tackle.
These guys are just saying, hey, this guy, Matt Jones deserves to play. He's played well enough to earn some spots in meaningful minutes. And to see offensive line rotation, which just does not happen for a number of reasons. Number one, because it's not good, generally speaking. But
it's like quarterback rotation.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. But Matt Jones has earned his spot. He's playing basically at home in front of his home crowd there in New Jersey. He's from Erasmus Hall in Brooklyn, so not far away.
Same school as Curtis Samuel.
Correct. Same school as Aaron Cruikshank, who had the 75-yard touchdown for Wisconsin.
Oh, so everybody got to feel
Neither here nor there. Yeah. Neither here nor there. Shout out Danny Lamberg. It's that sort of rotation and the ability to just, hey, we're in the middle of the best game we've played, but I'm just willing to step back and let someone else go in. I just think says a lot about the guys in that room.
Yeah, I wonder if that will continue because, as you said, you're not going to see offensive linemen rotate generally or anywhere. Thayer Munford went to left tackle. Dwan Jones went to the sideline. Nicholas Petit-Frere went to right tackle. That was one of the ways they did it. They took Paris Johnson out and let Matthew Jones go in there. I don't know if the game had been closer, if that's something that would continue, but we'll have to watch that moving forward because it's certainly an option. I will take Cameron Martinez.
Who's he?
He used to play quarterback for a small school up in Michigan.
Okay.
Caught my eye in a state championship game when he was in the 8A level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, just 8, I think.
Is that high or low?
It was low.
Well, he's a real small.
It's a small school up there.
Transfers to a bigger program, becomes a superstar.
Yeah. I heard he was a 2-time Michigan Player of the Year.
Yeah, well, and I followed him
true?
the whole way through. Just a phenomenal athlete. I said,
been your guy for a long time,
I can
hasn't it?
picture him as a defensive back at Ohio State. It'd be a difficult transition to make.
Did you talk to Pantoni about that? Are you the reason?
A 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in Michigan, huh?
I don't want to talk too much about it.
You want to toot your own horn, but
that's my story.
You might be the reason he's here at Ohio State.
Nobody else has anything to do with that.
Wow. It's impressive.
But yeah, well, that's a story for another. On the pick six for Denzel Burke, and I don't know schematically, Bob, if this was an adjustment, a key, something that they're doing differently. Cam Martinez was sitting in the zone and then flashed underneath, and Vedral had to sort of pump fake. And he's like, I'm still committed to throwing it. So tried to throw high over Cameron Martinez. He forces the interception. Really, that's what's been happening for him several weeks in a row. Just assisted interceptions.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I watched the game last night and saw if that ball doesn't get overthrown, Cameron picks it off.
Martinez takes it to the house.
And he obviously dropped a pick six on the blocked punt or the fake punt because he told me after the game, he said, I saw green and I took my eyes off the brown.
He was probably talking to me. I don't know.
I mean, you guys are like this right off.
So that sort of kid, I mean, like we talk about all the time, football players just need to play football. And Matt Barnes said it last week in the press conference on Wednesday at Ohio State, or Tuesday at Ohio State. You get better at playing football by playing football.
That makes sense.
Sounds
a novel idea.
Revolutionary concept.
Jeez.
They're going to play football again on Saturday, Nicole, against Maryland. So what have you got cooked up for us in the sport department?
Guys, I don't know. What's the spread?
It's like 30 or something, isn't it?
No, it's
26?
21?
21 was what it came out yesterday. Where's Spencer?
I think that's accurate.
Chives,
what's the spread?
21?
Ooh.
18.5.
So it's dropped.
I say.
Must have been all that impressive work that Mike Loxley did on Saturday.
Yes, they had a good one.
I'm going to say 42-17.
42-17.
I'm going to write it down so I don't forget.
Yes, that's good.
We've got it locked in.
42-7.
That's Nicole's prediction. I I think there's a Roosters bowl trip giveaway going on.
There is, you
Tell
guys.
us about it.
There is. I just met with our week 4 winner last week, and she is so excited. And we're posting all of them on our social media, but people need to register every day because it's every week is a new, like a fresh start. So it's a new chance to win.
Bob, what can they win?
Here's what they can win. When you go and sign up at roosterswings.com, you have the ability to win 2 tickets to the bowl game, 2 plane tickets, airfare, and then 2 deluxe hotel accommodations. Emphasis on deluxe. And now Ohio State, if my math is right, they 1 win away.
They need
2 wins.
They need
2. You got to
2
get on
wins
them
away.
eligible.
2 wins away from becoming bowl eligible, so you can then cash in this ticket and maybe go to the Alamo Bowl or
Outback
Bowl.
Real nice down in
maybe
Tampa.
the college football playoff.
Ooh, or there's that.
Possibly that, but that's really exciting.
You
So
guys were on the last.
roosterswings.com.
You guys were on the last Alamo Bowl team, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have my Alamo. Listen,
It was a great bowl trip.
I have.
Do you remember the Alamo?
I do remember the Alamo because I
Jay-Z doesn't.
I do.
I remembered it because I told everybody the next year we don't want to go back there. That sucked. We're not going back to the Alamo Bowl again. So if you think you want to be a lazy turd, get off this.
Did
team.
you use Remember the Alamo?
That was our thing. Was remember the Alamo. Nobody wanted to go back to that there. I mean, the Riverwalk was nice, but the amenities were not near the Fiesta Bowl.
Well,
we're used to staying at the Princess.
Jack Miller's dad was out there just slinging stuff for everybody, whatever you needed.
What was the curfew situation down there on the Riverwalk?
It was a little more laxed. Let's just say, I think they were a little more laxed on the old Alamo Bowl than the Fiesta Bowl.
Huh. Okay, good to know. How many winners are there every week?
Did you pull your
Every
hamstring
week,
walking
12.
on the
12.
Pulled my hamstring in the
winners.
game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
not on the Riverwalk?
before. No.
Are you
12
sure?
winners.
I got a
one
good
every week.
warm up out there on the Riverwalk.
No one wants to listen, Nicole. 12 winners, 1 every week.
One winner every week. Well, 2 winners every week.
Well, 1 person wins, then you get to pick.
Yeah, you
It's
get
a
to bring
plus
you
1.
get to take your guess.
I love it. It's the Roosters Bowl Trip giveaway. Go tomorrow to Roosters for Appetizer Tuesday. They're $2. They're fried pickles or maybe something else.
Yep.
Who knows? It's to be determined, but you're going to want to go do it, and you're going to want to watch Letterman Live while you're there. Nicole, thanks for having us. We're going to let you go about your day.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll be back to talk a lot more about C.J. Stroud and the Buckeyes after this quick break.
And now with some early bowl predictions, Bobby Carpenter.
Well, Austin, what I'm seeing here is 12 lucky Roosters guests are getting the opportunity to travel to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with 2 tickets, airfare, and hotel. 1 prize winner will be chosen each week. Guests need to register weekly at roosterswings.com.
That's great, Bobby. What I was asking was your prediction for the Buckeyes this bowl season.
I have no idea. I'm going to Roosters right now to register.
Precision engineering, rigorous attention to detail. A Bryant Evolution heating system is so well designed, it's as much of a joy to install as it is to use.
Good to go.
For the dealer nearest you, visit Bryant.com.
All right, welcome back into the Letterman Lounge. It's Roosters Letterman Live. We've been attacking the fried pickles. We're going to try and leave some for everybody else. No guarantee when Jay-Z's in the house. So look at this. You said you wanted to talk about C.J. Stroud, and we have to do that because he's the starting quarterback, and he missed a week with injury. He looked pretty dang healthy.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to talk about it not because of he missed a week, but I mean, he was 4 incompletions. Great, and what a great game. I guess I was surprised that maybe a week off. I don't know what it was.
Like,
did
that
the
it
week
matters
off
that much?
turn him into what we thought it was going to be? Because there weren't any overthrown balls. I mean, they were on the money. He looked comfortable in the pocket.
He ran the football.
Ran the ball, early in the game. Held it and got down there for
Use
10
that
yards.
term loosely.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
hey, all you got to do though, he hasn't done that all season long. So
He showed a willingness to move.
Like, they don't need him to be Justin Fields.
No.
We used to have this conversation about Dwayne. Like, if you just show it, that's all you need.
well, and the thing is,
because you can grow from there,
of course.
so to speak.
But yes, you're 100% right. All they need is that threat. And I don't think early on he was even doing a great job of, when he was handing it off, carrying those fakes out to maybe give them the idea of, hey, I can do this or I will.
Right.
But now they apparently talked about it, but then the game plan wanted him to do it, make that read, pull the ball. You don't have to be a crazy athletic person. If there's nobody there, you can get down the field and get 6 yards on a 1st and 10.
Tom Brady got 6 yards.
He did. He got picked up a big first down.
I mean,
and he's slower than molasses. So, You know, it was great to see. I was just astonished at, I mean, man, this is what we thought that offense was going to look like. And to have CJ, apparently that rest he got for his shoulder was great, well needed, and put him right on the mark because he was outstanding on Saturday.
He suggested after the game that the mental part was also that you take a week back and get a new perspective. And he didn't dive into any great detail with it. We only had about 3 minutes. But I don't know if that means, maybe Kyle McCord could take my job if he keeps growing. Maybe that means like just the pressure of performing. I needed to understand that. I don't know. But he said it was both physical and mental for him, Bob.
And that's why I was curious when we talked about that. Like, what percentage of him playing better is just the physical healing and his shoulder feels better, or the fact that you took that step back, you watched the game plan be put in place, you watched all the plays from behind, you were able to kind of operate and look at it through a different prism, a little bit like a coach, and then maybe you understand things a little bit differently. And so he would be the one that'd be able to tell you, like, hey, break that down on your game, your percentage projector here. What is it? Is it 50-50? Was it 75-25? Where was it at? Because it looked a little bit like it was both, because the confidence comes partially from, I think, him probably feeling good about his arm. But there's also a confidence, and there was an assertiveness for just making decisions that that seemed like he knew what he wanted to do, and the ball was snapped each and every play.
Remember playing sports when we were younger, and your coaches would ask you if you're injured or if you're hurt?
Yeah.
I think that you need, as a quarterback, sometimes to understand the difference, and especially if you're, from an area of the country where you don't get hit a lot playing, quarterback anymore. You got to show a little bit more. And for C.J. Stroud, I'm not saying that he wasn't hurt. I'm saying that maybe if you're
injured,
maybe he wasn't injured.
If you're going out there,
because a shoulder injury to me is different than he needed to rest his shoulder. It had been giving him a little bit of trouble.
If you're saying this is my team and I'm going to play through what is bothering me, then you can't use it in any way. And not saying that CJ was the one doing it. I mean, I'm just as guilty as someone watching it. You go, how much is it really bothering? I think at some point, knowing that you have other guys on the team that can play football maybe makes you go, wait a second, I can't take this rep off. And perhaps a month ago, 3 weeks ago, CJ was thinking, hey, I could take this rep off. I'm not saying I'm just, speculating clearly, but I think that Ryan Day made it a point after the game to say that CJ had to think about what he wanted. I don't think that's an accident.
But the part that is difficult when you're mentioning, you said it's speculation, and we don't know every single day what is going through C.J. Stroud's mind or how much pain was in the shoulder.
Right, and it could change day to day too. I mean, that's the way the body works.
Some of this stuff that you're talking about, like, could you take a rep off? Well, he's a quarterback in his first month of starting, and he was missing the week of Tulsa, an entire week of practice. Well, you're not just going to be able to go out when you've never done any of this before and perform at a high level. So you were missing those practice reps. The way he was carrying himself, drawing attention to the fact that he was in pain, the way he carried the shoulder, like, those aren't the things that
a lot of
the Ohio State quarterback,
it's like Uncle Rico out there.
Like, sailed that one.
Throw it over the mountains. But, that stuff, none of us can truly know. Only he can answer that part. And someday I'm sure he will. But whatever it was, whether it was just sitting to rest the shoulder or getting the different perspective on the game plan or watching McCoy, none of that stuff matters. Ohio State managed it just about as perfectly as you could have, because now what do you have? You have a healthy C.J. Stroud, certainly a confident one, and the rest of the offense knows that they can build around what he did and reach the potential that they want. And if they have another issue, well, Kyle McCord has now played.
They got guys who have reps.
In 2 weeks, both weeks. Jack Miller has now played, if you have to get down to that number 3 guy. So they come out of it with a healthy starting quarterback and now some reps for the number 2.
And I don't want to suggest that C.J. Stroud wasn't being tough enough. I want to say,
you tough.
I want playing through. I mean, he played his games.
What I'm suggesting is that maybe he realized he could be tougher. Okay? I don't think that I'm not trying to question his gumption or anything like that. I'm just saying, you as an athlete, every time you go out there, you are learning what you can put yourself through and what you're able to fight through. And I think that maybe as a junior quarterback who was giving up a game to a true freshman, he probably would have been like, okay, no big deal. But as another freshman quarterback, he's probably, oh, crap, I better not allow too much of that to happen, and maybe I need to push the envelope a touch.
Well, in the way you come at it in this end of this game, he could have went another way of saying, "Jeez, I got to make every throw perfect." He could have put that much more pressure on himself, saying,
right,
"This kid went out and I won the freshman Big Ten Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. He went out and played 1 week, he won it. There's another guy right behind me." So he could have went out and put all that pressure on himself, but it didn't look as if it was. I think Ryan Day has done a great job of, ever since camp, this is our starter. Hey, he's our starter if he's healthy. There was no questions asked. He put it down right away. If he's healthy, he's going to be our starter. That, as a quarterback, makes you feel better because you just saw your buddy go out and play really well, or put up a lot of yards anyways, and that could have changed. But your coach is still saying you're the guy if you're healthy, and then he goes out and puts on a show. And I don't think there's any question moving forward.
Well, and there is something to the fact that, and you can talk about this, any young player, it's one thing for guys like Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, guys that have played 20 years at college and the NFL, like at high levels. Oh, yeah, they take like a rest day here. It's more of a mental day. As a young player who's never started before and who's a redshirt freshman, he needs those practice reps. And so you've got to figure out, okay, I got to get healthy. So when you are playing, you're seeing everything in practice and you're experiencing all of it, as opposed to like, I can take a Tuesday or Wednesday off or whatever and rest the arm. Like that's not a good process to get in when you're starting in your first season. By the time he's maybe a junior or senior, like you said, that might be a little bit different. So we have a firm command of the offense and you understand, hey, all right, they're doing this, 2 invert over here, they're rolling this. All right, bam, bam, we're going to do, and you know all the answers already and you see it. And you can see it from behind, and it's almost just as good. Right now, he needs to be experiential reps. Austin, he needs to make sure that he is fully immersing himself in all the sensory details of everything that's going on. Like he can taste the colors.
I said last week on practice report last Wednesday night, it was clear that Ryan Day was trying to make sure there was a non-traversy at quarterback. That was
he's so proud of this.
That was the goal. And it was up to C.J. Stroud to make sure that it stayed that way, and he did. Yep. Also, you know who's really good at football? Travion Henderson.
Yeah, he is. We can talk about him a lot, I guess. But, Jay-Z, I was wondering if there was one throw that you saw on Saturday night or one play that told you, all right, well, if you were uncertain about it, that told you that C.J. Stroud was –
I don't know if there was one. It's just every ball he threw – seemed to be on the money. Yeah. It seemed to be where he wanted to put it. It wasn't, earlier in the year you'd see the ball and, man, he was open. If he puts it where it's supposed to be. This game, it didn't have that feel at all. I just felt like he was sharp. I don't know what it was, if he was just really comfortable with what he was seeing in the secondary or the, plays going into the game, because it was early on he got going. So a lot of times those are scripted and you practiced them and you knew what look you were going to get, and he was just letting the ball rip. In my head, I'm like, where's this been? So it just takes me back to maybe the week with his shoulder was that much bigger than what we really thought, and maybe he is feeling that much better now to where he's just letting things rip, and he always was on with his reads and where the ball was supposed to go, but now he's just able to put it.
I don't want to belabor the point either, but when you talk about that pressure as a quarterback, how much less of it there is when the defense comes out and makes a play, you're up 14-0, you can just sort of calm down. Mm-hmm. But to me, I think we had maybe we're talking about the same throw or thinking about the same throw. The second touchdown to Olave where, C.J. Stroud has made his mark at Ohio State and taken this job because he was supposed to be that much more accurate than the other quarterbacks and a little bit more anticipatory. He threw a touchdown to Chris Olave before Olave or the defender turned around in a spot in the end zone that took a picture of it, and the ball is like right by the defensive back's head, and I have no idea how it didn't hit him, number one, but the fact that he made that throw at that time in the red zone, putting it right in the back corner of the end zone, that was the throw to me that I was like, okay, this there's a light on today.
Yeah, that was going like to my right, so I was behind it and looking at, not what C.J. Stroud sees, but I was like, where's that ball going? Mm-hmm. Like Chris Olave hadn't made his break yet. It was one of those.
Even the ball to Njigba on the outside on that little wheel
in the bucket. Yeah,
that's a ball. There's a defensive back right there. He put it, perfect. So he was just dealing, and if he can take that confidence and that shoulder stays as healthy, as feeling good as it did on Saturday, I think, man, this could be an exciting second half of the season.
And I think it was, the other touchdown as well to Olave with extending a play in the pocket. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about him running, it doesn't have to be for a first down, like what Dwayne Haskins did really well, because you brought this up when we went out to California. That's who C.J. Stroud reminded you of. And I thought there were some throws, the way he stepped into it and ripped it on Saturday, that it looked like Dwayne. Well, Dwayne had enough athleticism and strength in the pocket to extend it that way. Honestly doesn't need somebody to run like Justin.
You don't.
It's
As
nice,
a football team, you don't have to. It is nice.
It is.
But there's been a lot of guys in the NFL who have won a lot of games who don't go running around, and they know how to move within the pocket to buy themselves some extra time with their eyes downfield. But they're not Kyle Murray, who's going to go run all over the place and make plays that way.
I just need to see someone that when the time calls for it and it's necessitated, that they make the decision and it's decisive and it's clear.
Yeah, Dwayne did that in the second half of the season in 2018. Yep. He finally realized at times I'm going to need to be the one to do this.
Not saying it has to be a 40-yard run.
It needs to be a 6-yard run
6, 7 yards.
Touchdown.
That's all it has to be. Yeah.
The red zone, hey, 3rd and 5, they're running 2-man, they're running all over the place. Blitz, hey, thing opens up, go take the yardage, go get the first down, move the chains. And if I saw Tom Brady do it in a game on Sunday night at 49,000 years old, and he was never an athletic to begin with, and it looked slow and terrible. I'm like, how can you not tackle this guy? He's not running anywhere. But if he's willing to do that,
moves the chains.
It moves the chains because it's what needed to be done at the time.
Got Trevor Lawrence running zone read and speed.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
Just a great use of your quarterback.
Well, yeah.
Berm, you think TreVeyon Henderson is good? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Whoa.
Look, and I don't want to put too much pressure on someone, but
pressure. Okay,
here it comes.
Hold on.
This
ought to be good.
Kid has the opportunity and the talent to be the best running back to ever play at Ohio State. Am I wrong? You think I'm wrong? I mean, I know he's got to step up in other areas. He's got to learn how to be a little bit more aggressive in pass pro and be a little bit better picking up blitzes.
It's a pretty big statement, but 5 games into a guy's career.
But that talent is so different than anyone else, and that's why all preseason, I'm like, once he steps on the field, people are going to realize that there is a huge gap between what he can do with the football and what everyone else on that roster can do with the football. And I'm glad that it's been bearing itself out to be true so far. But obviously, you have to keep getting better. But that is a weapon that Ohio State just doesn't have very often because no one has it very often. To have a running back who can every time he's averaging a first down every carry.
Mm-hmm. That is
impressive.
That's impressive.
That's impressive.
Absurd on its face. He has 8 touchdowns in his first 5 games now at Ohio State. He has 500 and some yards rushing on like 52 carries. That sort of player can take so much weight off of what C.J. Stroud needs to do going the rest of the way that I think that it sets up Ohio State for an opportunity to truly build towards something really special by the end of October, November.
I think they also got a confidence boost with what Marcus Crowley gave them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was good.
I've
loved Marcus Crowley since he's been here. I thought he was probably the best guy last year if he would have been healthy. And you saw a lot of that. I mean, he's got some good top-end speed.
And physical.
Big dude, runner. Yeah. He sees the field really well. He's pretty smooth in his breaks. He doesn't have the elite top end that TreVeyon does, but that's what separates him. Yeah. But I think you saw, there were 3 guys that played a lot who were all very versatile and different with what they brought to the team. And I give a lot of credit to Master Teague, who was a guy who was 3rd team All Big Ten his freshman year behind J.K. Dobbins, running for 900 yards in the second half of games essentially. Yeah. And now he's kind of the short yardage guy, finish game guy, and he's good with that. Like he wants to probably play more, but he's not going to sit there and throw his gloves into the stands and go fight a coach.
Did not, and he could have done that. I mean,
anybody could do it, Austin. I mean,
what I mean is he got to week 4. People have seen enough of Master Teague to know, hey, even if you can't be the starting running back at Ohio State, that a lot of schools could use someone with his skill set, and he could have taken off the gloves and said, I've like Berm was talking about earlier with some of the defensive guys, this is my turn to eat the cake, and you took it away, and you gave it to this freshman who's been here for 5 games. Well, there's a reason that freshman is eating, and he's going to continue to eat, but I would not want to tackle Master Teague at the goal line. So accepting his role,
I wouldn't want to tackle him at 45.
Well,
with that room, you just know you're not going to be the guy who gets all the. I mean, back when we were freshmen, Maurice was the running back.
Yeah,
he got every carry of every game that he could play in.
Yeah.
There's just too many guys in this room. They knew they were going to have to rotate, and they got Trey Henderson up there at number 1 where he should be. but you're going to need these guys as the year goes on because things happen where you get your bell rung or you get your knee twisted, and you're going to need these guys to step in and take over.
And it was up to Travion to make sure that he didn't get caught up in all the hype, and he had to do the work. Obviously, he had to come in and perform. And now that he's doing that, the offense changes. And that was something that I thought was really interesting watching Saturday, is that if Ohio State wanted to run the ball 45 times a game, it would probably be one of the best offenses in college football. But they don't, and that almost makes Henderson more dangerous because you can allow him to run the ball 15, 16 times a game, and each one of those can be a home run shot. And that's a real difference when you have an offense that's already predicated on the best group of wide receivers in college football.
I think to sum it up, as we wrap up Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint and a fun casual conversation, Ohio State's just pretty talented. They might be good at football, and they're only getting better.
I think you're onto something there.
I like cake.
It's a crazy idea that I have.
It's crazy.
And
for you to throw it out there like this in a public setting, that's impressive.
I'm going to walk out on that limb if you guys can come with me if you want. But
I like cake.
You don't have to. Saturday at noon, it's homecoming festivities. There are fried pickles tomorrow at Roosters, Appetizer Tuesday.
Till they last.
Get ready. Saturday at noon, Ohio State and the mighty Maryland Terrapins. Going to be a great one. Can't wait for that one. That's Jay-Z.
Homecoming.
Yeah, homecoming.
Big time.
For whatever. Rutgers didn't exactly have a great homecoming last weekend or Parents' Weekend or whatever it was. Just 4 people and stuff your face on a Friday night before a game.
They'd already stuffed their face.
Great atmosphere. And then it was there were like thousands of people still waiting to get in the stadium 4 minutes into the game. And it's like, are we sure we want to go in? It's 14-0. We're out of here.
Yeah, they hear the big yells and they're like, we're down already.
So definitely not a sellout crowd there. But anyway, Nicole Cox, thank you for having us back into Roosters for Lettermen Live. That is Jay-Z, Bob, Berm. I am Austin. We'll be back here next Monday to break down Ohio State and Maryland.